guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. This from a guy, he is 60 years old, and shares his story how recently, after 60 years on this planet, for the first time ever, a woman that he knows actually admitted that he was right and she was wrong. I mean, for you guys that obviously been married or in relationships, you know darn well how rare that is, how that is a true rare phenomenon, a woman admits that she's wrong and you're right. And what was the thing she was admitting she was wrong about? Men. This was his daughter admitting that everything he told her about men as a teenager, a young woman in her 20s, and recently is accurate. And the reason she's in her predicament that she's in is because of her fault and bad choices, not because of the guys. Very interesting. And I've been going to go over here, guys, aside from the entertainment factor, because we all know how rare. It's like about as rare as Halley's Comet coming around to go past the Earth. Like, I think that's every 72 years or something. You astronomy folks can tell me. And how that's very rare. We can all laugh at that. But also the fact that when it comes to parenting, guys, clearly you all are well aware. I'm not a parent, but I obviously was a child once. You know, my parents did their best with me. You can do the best you can. You can tell them everything you can to prepare them for the real world. And at the end of the day, when they become adults, you got to set them free to make their own choices. And they will sometimes listen to you, you hope. And other times, they're not, and they're going to screw up, have to learn the hard way. As well as, guess what? You can't really feel too bad for the gals out there when you, as a parent, or anybody for that matter, warn them about reality. At the end of the day, if they are attracted to bad boys and guys that are losers that are going to cheat on them and break their hearts, and you've warned them, whether it be your daughter, your sister, your cousin, whatever, at the end of the day, it's their own mistakes and they have to deal with it. And it's not guys' fault in the situation that, like, oh, all guys are cheaters. And no, it's not true at all. So I've been going to go over here, and I think you guys will find this one pretty entertaining. He says here, hello, SSM. I wanted to send in my story to see if you'll find it useful for something. If not, no big deal, but it's a little different than the stories you typically share, so who knows? Guys, all the stories have value one way or another, and that's why I'm doing them. You can call me Kevin. I'm 60 years old, and for the first time in my life, I recently had a woman admit to my face that I was right and she was wrong. First time in 60 years. It doesn't happen much, guys. However, never won an argument with a woman, ever I was due. But it was still unexpected. Not that I doubted I was wrong, but I couldn't imagine a woman admitting I was right. He's really hitting home about this because that's how rare it is. And by the way, never argue with a woman because you're not going to win, guys. You're just going to go crazy because they're going to be emotional and twist things around and gaslight. And you guys have been in that situation, you know what I'm talking about. Better just walk away. And all logic and ration goes right out the door when you're trying to use that in your argument with her. So I was married to my first wife and only wife, Stephanie, in 1984 at the age of 20. When she got pregnant. Back then, it was just what you did. I know things and views are different today, but at the time, it was what was expected. Steph and I dated for a little more than a year before she got pregnant, and while we liked each other, I wouldn't call it love. Those were the times. You know, 1984, and depending also where you lived, your culture, your religion. Yeah, but we all know nowadays, just don't marry the girl. If it's your child, if the paternity test says it's your kid, okay, guys, you have a responsibility to take care of that kid. Doesn't mean you got to marry her because these things usually don't go well, as you're going to see. So we went from a couple of carefree kids, just barely adults, to a married couple expecting a child. It changed a lot of our plans, but looking back, even knowing how it ended, I would probably do it the same way. I have no real regrets. Our marriage lasted for 6.5 years. I'm surprised it lasted that long, man. I think the biggest issue we had was that neither of us knew how to be adults. All of our friends were still living that carefree life, and we were doing what we could to build our lives together and take care of our child, Chelsea. It's because all your friends are going, this is 1984, 1985, they're all going to Madonna concerts and or seeing Michael Jackson or who knows, REO Speedwagon. There's nothing like being responsible for a child to make you grow up fast. Still, we made the best of our hard situation, and for the most part, the first couple of years were okay. You're doing what you had to do, man. And so did she, obviously. The trouble started when Chelsea was around 4 years old, when the cracks in our relationship started to become obvious. Hell, I'm surprised it took that long, to be honest. The main issue was that we didn't know each other well enough when we were married to make a lifelong commitment. I don't blame Steph completely because we both played our parts. Well, that says a lot about you, man. Good that you can admit that both of you, including yourself, had your flaws and faults. Over the following 2 years, the working together for a family devolved into resentment, arguments, money troubles, and in general being unhappy. It was about the 6-year mark that we decided we just weren't a very good match. There wasn't any cheating or abuse. It had been brewing for a long time, and we realized that we were better people and parents when we weren't together. Good. Better to part ways amicably as best as possible and raise your child happily divorced and unhappily married. A lot of people disagree with that, but a lot of people out there that were kids with unhappy, miserable parents, they back that up. Strangely enough, after our divorce, we were much better friends than when we were married. See, there you go. That says a lot about her. We co-parented well, and maybe I hit the lottery. But I don't have any ex-wife horror stories. I didn't get dragged through the courts for alimony, and our child support arrangement was made between the two of us. And since we lived relatively close to each other, our daughter would stay with me for a week, and then her mom for a week. We maintained that until Chelsea graduated high school and left for college. Wonderful. Dude, I mean, that's pretty much as good as it can get in that situation. When we first decided to get divorced, we sat both our sets of parents down and explained our situation, so I don't even have any ex-in-law horror stories. Steph ended up getting married again when our daughter was about 15, and they're still happily together and happy from what I can tell, and I'm happy for the both of them. Hey, great. Her new husband, I'll call Roger, is a good guy, and I'm grateful that he never tried to replace me as Chelsea's dad. All in all, I have no complaints. As for me, one marriage was enough, and I spent the last 33 years working on my career and hobbies. There you go, man. You did it once, you're not doing that again. I'm content, and while I could have retired a couple years ago, I enjoy working, so maybe in the near future, I'll think about it. But it's not really a concern at the moment. Well, dude, if you're 60 years old, and you saying that you could have retired a couple years earlier, you are light years ahead of the masses here in the US of A. So you earned it. You obviously worked hard and smart. And there you go. But if you enjoy doing what you do, keep doing it. Think about it. Unless you can think of something that's going to occupy your time, being retired from working, then keep doing what you're doing if you enjoy it. Seriously. And let it pile up, because you never know what can happen in life. You could live to be 110 years old, for God's sakes, by the way technology is advancing and medicine is advancing. So if you can work more and you like it, keep stockpiling that money and investing it where you feel comfortable. Sorry for the long intro, but I need to share a little of my background so you'll understand where I'm coming from. It was about 3 weeks ago when my now 39-year-old daughter called me out of the blue, and it melted my brain. It wasn't anything bad, at least for me, but I know it was probably one of the hardest things she's ever done. She told me I was right about everything. And in that moment, hell froze over. It was so out of the character for her that I thought it was some kind of prank. But me, being me, made some sort of smart-ass comment to the effect of course I am. I'm not sure why you could ever doubt me. And I laughed a little bit. It was when she started bawling on the phone, shocker, that I knew something was wrong, and when she calmed down, she laid it all out for me. Well, you're going to find out that there's a reason he's making smart-ass comments momentarily, and he's entitled to it. Since she was 6 years old, Chelsea lived with me every other week, and before that, I was a constant in her life. She was my princess, at least until she started turning into a young woman and getting interested in boys. Then she became a prisoner. I figured it would all equal out when she turned into an adult, but I gave her no-nonsense advice about boys and men from an early age. Good. No need to sugarcoat, gentlemen. It wasn't just about what not to do, it was also why and what the consequences could potentially be, and for the most part, she listened to me. That's another good thing. It drives me crazy when parents tell something to their kids, and the kids naturally being kids saying, why? And the parents say, because I said so. No, fucking explain to your kid the reasoning that you have this rule or this policy or this perspective. Don't just because I said so, because that makes the kid think you're a fucking dick, and they'll resent you and do more things to piss you off, unless they're scared shitless of you. And your child should never be scared shitless of you. They should respect you and know that not to mess with you, but not being, scared shitless. Let them know. Well, as much as a woman can listen to a man, he says laughing my ass off here, I used her mom's unexpected pregnancy as an example of how it changed both of our lives, but reassured her that I wouldn't change a thing because we got her out of the deal. I told her what boys were really after and how to tell the good ones from the players, as well as getting the chance to scare the shit out of a couple boys while she was in high school. That's just what a dad does. Well, there you go. You gave it to her, but here's the problem. You could speak all the common sense and logic to her, but it's going to go one ear out the other to a gal who women are programmed by their emotions. They have an emotion-based CPU. And if she's attracted to guys that have qualities of the bad boys, you got good luck with that. But you got to say what you say because you're her dad. Like every parent, there comes a day when the kids will leave the nest, and best you can hope that they paid enough attention to the lessons you taught. It was after Chelsea left for college that she started to spread her wings and find her own way. I could still make a joke about the spreading thing right now, but I'm not going to do it because I respect you, sir, and you know what I'm talking about. So I guess I did make that joke, but I'm pretending not to make the joke, but I am making the joke. In the comment section, you guys are going to be making the spreading jokes. Though still, she called me a few times a month, and we still asked for my advice about different things. We've always had a good relationship, but it's always been my belief that it's not my job to think for another adult. If she asks for advice, I will give it to her. But if she does not ask, I'll assume she's not looking for advice. Very good, because usually when women want to talk or vent, they don't want your fucking advice. They just want to talk, and you to listen and actually not give some sensible advice. You ever notice you get a bunch of women together and there's a problem, and they'll talk, and nobody has a real fucking solution at the end of this long-ass conversation? Meanwhile, if you get a bunch of dudes together and a guy's having a problem, the guys will all come up with solutions to help him, and he can move on and fix the problem. But when you try to solve your girlfriend or wife's problems, when she's talking about it, they get mad at you for, you don't listen. Well, you keep coming to me with the same goddamn motherfucking problem every week, so I'm going to give you a solution. But anyhow, yeah, you can tell that I've been in that boat before, guys. So anyhow, yes, if she's not asking for advice, hey, okay. Over the years, it says here, so he'd give it to her when she would ask. I'll assume she's not looking for advice. One thing I've always stressed was consequences. You can lie to yourself, but you can't hide from consequences. Over the years, Chelsea had some relationships and even found herself engaged at one point. It was the only guy she brought home to meet her mother and I. I didn't like him from the moment he introduced himself. Within 30 minutes of talking to him, it was clear he was more impressed with himself than he was with my daughter. It was a long weekend, and he spent most of it bragging about how great he was. How much great shit can he do it, in his 20s or something like that? Guys that do that are deeply insecure. Sure, he was a nice-looking guy, but at 26 years old, he didn't have enough life experience to nearly be as great as he thought he was. Hell, I've got t-shirts older than him. They were together for 8 months when he proposed. Smack to that jackass. And to your daughter for actually buying it. 8 months? Get the fuck out of here. And when she caught him cheating on her 2 months before the planned wedding, she kicked him to the curb. Well, good for her for kicking him to the curb, but this is what happens when you get involved with a guy 8 months into it, you don't know him. And shocked when he was cheating, given the fact you could tell he was a fucking douchebag. So she's had other relationships before him and after, but none of it lasted, and mostly because they all had wandering eyes. So your daughter has the things for a-holes, bad boys, Chad and Tyrones. And guess what? She's 39 years old. I don't hear anything about a husband or grandkids. It was when Chelsea was 33 or 34 when she asked me why she couldn't find any reliable guys and asked her what she meant. Good question. What do you mean by that? Instead of just automatically making assumptions. She said that all the guys she meets end up being terrible people, and she told me about some of them. I asked her what all of them had in common, and she said they were all cheaters, and she got angry when I smiled at her and shook my head no. So she assumes because all the guys she gets with are cheaters, and therefore all guys are cheaters. No, most guys aren't like that. But the guys she chooses, the guys you warned her about, more times than you can probably calculate on your freaking computer, and she still didn't listen. I told her one thing they had in common was her. She was the one picking the guys and suggested there was something wrong with her selection process. I bet she started freaking out, going "Ah!" like in Ferris Bueller's Day Off when Cameron saw the odometer of the car they took, the Ferrari, and you hear Cameron going "Ah!" and you hear the whole city. That was your daughter when you admitted that when you said that the problem isn't them, it's her. So I also told her that she was going after the pretty boys instead of looking for a real man. Well, the bad boys aren't just the pretty boys. They also could look like thugs or hoodlums or anything like that too. Then I told her that she has probably passed by hundreds of good men who would be good husbands, fathers, and partners, but she was looking for the wrong things in her partners. Then I told her that she doesn't change her thinking. She's going to grow old alone and without children because the men she's going for are never going to commit to her alone. She then tried to say that all men cheat, and I rebuffed that and said, I never cheated, and not all men cheat, just the ones you keep picking. Again, like Cameron and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Man, Dad, good for you. And obviously she didn't like that. That was the last time we had that discussion, and now 5 years later, she's still single with no kids and admitting that I was right all along about everything. So 5 years, you haven't talked to her. Either you haven't talked to her, or that was the last time you had that discussion, regardless. There you go. You told her when she was growing up, teenage years. You told her probably in her 20s, and then there you go. And you told her then, and you haven't discussed it since. And now she's finally admitting that you were right and she was wrong. Again, blue moon event type of thing there. But at the end of the day, yeah, it boils down to her selection process. The guys that make her feel a certain way, she's going to go for. She's no doubt, if she's remotely attractive, which I'm guessing she probably is, she has countless opportunities. So she's crying and boo-hooing and sad and upset because she hasn't found the man and doesn't have a family. That is her problem. End of story. You tried, Dad. You tried to give her the advice. She didn't want to listen. You know? Maybe she'll listen to your ex about advice about men. Who the fuck knows? But it's on her. And I don't feel bad for her. And I know she's your daughter. I know you want the best for her, but she had to learn. And the question is, at 39 years old, is she going to learn now? But here's the problem. 39 years old, I think that window has closed for having kids. It can be done, but those are high-risk pregnancies. And sure, she can meet a guy out there, but is she going to be able to switch off the things that she's really attracted to for a good guy out there and kind of be bored with him? And even if she finds a good guy, why should that good guy out there settle for her when she's the same type of gal that wouldn't have given him the time of day many, many years ago, right? You know where I'm going with this? The good guys out there that are successful, do well for themselves, why would they pick her when they could pick a younger gal 20 years younger than her, 10 years younger than her that are actually has some good things going for them and are traditional? So your daughter, she made her bed, she has to lie in it. I'm being honest here. But who knows when it may happen. That was the last time we had that chat, blah, 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 5 years ago. It's one of those times you don't want to be right because you want your kids to be happy. You can fight a lot of things, but you can't fight consequences. It's the first time in my life a woman has admitted that I've been right about something. It's a shame that it feels like a hollow victory. I have no idea what kind of advice her mom has given her through the years, but I guess no grandkids for me. I guess the takeaway is that even if you teach your kids properly, it doesn't mean they're going to take your advice or wisdom, but it's their lives to live. Well, anyway, that's a good story, man, and I'm glad you're doing well in life and you're happy. You know, it sounds like you're kicking ass and taking names in life. You're living your life on your terms, doing what you want. You did your best. End of story. So, you know, I know I was pretty blunt a minute ago about what I think about, you know, her situation, but she brought this on herself. You know, she's not much younger than me, for goodness sake. And, you know, I'm not going to feel bad. You know, I can make my jokes and comments about random gals nowadays. And then a subscriber can write in about a situation where their daughter is behaving like a lot nowadays. And I'm not going to just, like, change my opinion because, you know, you wrote in. But, I mean, I hope that maybe she, you know, common sense finally gets through. Maybe she can find some happiness and you can find some happiness, you know, and maybe who never know what can happen down the road. Never say never. But the odds are after 39 years she still doesn't get it and still going for those types of guys. You know, the odds are she may not change. But you, sir, you have found happiness in life. You're doing well. And you may not have grandkids, but you shared your story here, and this will help some young guys out there, one form or another. Every story that people send in counts. So there you go, guys. You parents out there, talk to your kids. Do your best with them. But at the end of the day, they become adults. At that point, you've done your part. You've tried. They ask for your advice. Give it to them. But if they make the mistakes, it's on them. Okay? They're adults. End of story. You can't coddle. And, of course, how rare is it a woman actually admits that she's wrong? So who knows what will happen here with the gal who wrote with this guy here and his daughter. But I really do hope good things happen. You just never know. But we'll see. Alright guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.